Eddie. It's a great undercard, and for me, Kali Vasquez.
Yeah, good fight.
Great fight.
Good fight. It's going to kick us off. I like Sandy Ryan against Farias. I mean, you know, Sandy Ryan is 3-0, fighting a two-time world champion. Super tough Farias, and we're going to see what she's all about. Kevin Agyarko has a very good fight as well. Tough fight, 19-1, I think, Rubio. And Terry Harper back in a tough fight as well. So really looking forward to the undercard, particularly Farias. Kali Vasquez, great fight. And of course, it's about the main event, but we're going to have a lot of fun along the way.
We all saw AJ's Twitter comments yesterday, but if it was down to you, who would you have him facing in an interim fight?
My idea of an interim is very different to AJ's idea of an interim. My idea of an interim is an easy touch while you're waiting. His is Deontay Wilder, Otto Wallin, Luis Ortiz, Joe Joyce. These are the kind of names he's talking about. So that's just him. He wants a challenge, and even if it is an interim bout, which we'll decide over the coming days or weeks, it will be a real fight, and it'll be against a world champion contender.
When Anthony Joshua first told you that his main trainer would be Anthony Hernandez, was you shocked after seeing him in the States with the likes of Hunter?
No, I think there's going to be additions to the team. You know, he likes Angel, and Angel's a very good trainer. They're working really well together up in Loughborough. I do expect some additional members to the team, whether it's from an observing, capacity or a mentor capacity. Or, it's always good to get great minds in the camp, but he feels very comfortable with Angel, and they're working really well together.
And last one from me, Eddie. What do you make of the British Boxing Board of Control downgrading Ian John Lewis after his scorecards for Catherine Taylor?
Well, you never want to see anybody kind of like almost publicly shamed, if you like, but the board had to do something, they had to act, and they have done, and I think that's important because there has to be a consequence for poor scorecards, and we've seen that. The only thing is, if you're doing that, what you're accepting is that the scorecards was wrong, and if the scorecards was wrong, then what do you do from there?
Should they overturn the decision?
I don't think it was that kind of fight, to be honest with you. I think that we got Miguel Vasquez up here. I mean, that for me was a much worse decision against Lewis Ritson than Catterall against Josh Taylor. But no one felt like, everyone felt a certain way about the scorecards. So therefore, how can everyone be wrong? But I say it wasn't a close fight, but it was close enough. Like Miguel Vasquez against Ritson, I thought it was like 9-3, if that, 10-2. And Ritson won by six rounds, I think, on one judge's scorecard. So it's just good to see activity and reaction to what was a bad scorecard.
Julie here for Seconds Out. Eddie, we haven't seen you since you got the Canelo deal. How delighted are you with it?
Yeah, everyone keeps taking the mickey out of me about our bromance and our cuddling, and I'm going to continue to cuddle him because he's the biggest star in the sport, and he's got a very infectious energy and passion about boxing. And it's massive for us as a business. The two biggest stars in the sport are Canelo Alvarez and Anthony Joshua, and we represent both of them. And to represent the biggest star in American boxing is very big for our American business. So looking forward to the upcoming fight with Bivol and Golovkin, hopefully, if everyone wins, and then maybe even a fight in December as well.
People will often say you're salty about not getting the Fury White fight, but with that in mind, how much credit do you think you've actually gotten for landing this deal with Canelo?
I don't think anyone's really going to give me a lot of credit. I'm not here to get credit. I'm here to make money. I'm here to put on great shows. I'm here to provide opportunity for our fighters. And we're the best at what we do. So I'm saying salty about Fury against Wyatt. Obviously, I would love to be promoting that show, but I'm not, and we get on with our business. And our business is global. We're the only true global boxing promotional company, staging huge fights with huge talent, and Canelo Alvarez doesn't get any bigger.
You've just said AJ and Canelo, two biggest stars. Where would you rank Fury amongst the biggest stars?
3, I would say. I think you've seen from the draw with the tickets. He doesn't hit pay-per-view numbers like AJ, but he's a huge star. But you can't talk about globally. AJ has built a brand over almost a decade, and he's a huge global star. And Canelo Alvarez's value globally continues to rise, and hopefully we can see him box around the world.
Conor Benn, April 16th, Van Heerden. There's been a little bit of stick. What do you make of that? Obviously, considering there was talks about fighting the likes of Broner and but my man as well.
Who's your man? Kelbrook?
Hooker.
Oh, Hooker. Hooker accepted the fight. We'd done the deal with Hooker, and then he pulled out a week later with a back injury. So Van Heerden's a good fight for Conor Benn. He's a southpaw. He's not fought a competitive southpaw, I think, his whole career. And let's just get one thing straight. 18 months ago, yes, but Van Heerden's last fight was against Boots Ennis, headlining on Showtime. And 18 months ago, it was okay for Boots Ennis, but it's not okay for Conor Benn. So I think this is a real fight. Van Heerden will come to fight. He's extremely competitive. He's strong. But I think you're going to see what I believe one of the biggest stars in British boxing in Conor Benn. And again, look, you had 7,000 in Liverpool. You're going to see another big crowd in Manchester. This kid's a star. We wanted Kell Brook. We tried to make those fights. But this is the final chapter, the final hurdle for Conor Benn before he jumps in with all those names, because he's ready after this win to go forward and try and get himself very, very close to challenging for the world title.
And last of all, obviously it's a 50-50 fight in my opinion this weekend. How does each fighter win?
I think, people talk about Conlan on points or Leigh Wood via stoppage, but I think both guys can do either, to be honest with you. I think it's going to be an explosive fight because Leigh Wood is a very big puncher, but also at the same time Conlan can throw aggressively with great combinations as well, and I think the atmosphere is going to be so good inside this arena. It's going to be like a bear pit, and I think there's going to be drama. I think either guy can win. I think it's a 50-50 fight, but obviously I'm backing Leigh Wood to do the business.
Thank you.
This is Steve from Boxing UK in association with Supreme CBD. Eddie Hearn. We'll throw some quick fire ones at you, Eddie. First of all, thanks for the shout out the other day.
No worries, you've got people working for you now,
Eddie, AJ versus Joe Joyce discuss.
Yeah, I mean, look, AJ was kind of laughing last night. He thinks it's funny that someone shouted out that AJ won't fight Otto Warling because he's awkward, and he's like, I boxed him twice in the amateurs, beat him easy. He won't fight Joe Joyce. He's like, I stopped him in a round in the amateurs. Won't fight Wilder. He wants the Wilder fight. Luis Ortiz, we've made a dozen offers to Luis Ortiz in the past, so he's up for fighting all those guys. I don't mind saying an interim bout for me should look a lot easier than the people AJ wants to fight, but he wants to fight big fights. He wants to fight great opponents. So Joe Joyce could be one. He was on AJ's list. How easy that fight would be to make, we don't know, but certainly AJ would have no problem fighting any of those guys.
John Lewis has been demoted. Can you persuade viewers why the Boxing Board of Control judges aren't corrupt? Because that's what gets thrown at them all the time.
I mean, it's very difficult for me to stand there and sort of say, but quite frankly, it's ridiculous to even suggest such a thing. These are good boxing people that have been around a long, long time. They've got a tough job, but there's absolutely no chance. I've been working in boxing. I've been around boxing for 35 years. Right? I've been working in boxing for 12 years. I've never ever seen any level of corruption at all in the sport. But of course, people who don't know the sport inside out, that's something that will cross their mind. So whether you believe me or not, it's important for the board to make those decisions and to make sure that they act when there's a poor scorecard. And there was a poor scorecard. I mean, you've got a young man here this weekend, Miguel Vasquez, fighting Gary Cully. That was probably one of the worst cards I've ever seen. I mean, that was a lot worse than Catchell, but some of them are different levels of profile. But good to see the board reacting.
It's the last one. Sell us this weekend.
Just a brilliant fight. You've got the kid from Nottingham, who's been there, seen it, done it, 4 rounders, boxing for no money, getting beat, getting opportunity to headline in front of 10,000. Michael Conlan, it's his time, his opportunity to become a star if he's good enough. 50-50 fight, unbelievable atmosphere. It's going to be a great night. Cheers, mate.
How's it going? Sam Lowe, KFightersBoxing.com. Ed, one of your most Irish heavy shows
in
a long time, if not maybe ever. Talk to me about, first of all, I just want to go quickly through the Irish fighters. A massive, we start with Gary Cully and Miguel Vasquez. Massive.
It's a bit over there, isn't it? There you go. Yeah, go on.
Play again.
Yeah.
Play the ball.
Yeah, look, I'll do the job for you. You go through, I mean, Gary Cully, a lot of people are talking about Gary Cully as a kid that could go on and win the world lightweight title. So we'll have to see how good he is because he's got a very tough fight against Vasquez. Thomas Carty's actually got a very tough fight on Saturday against Bolos. Trust me, I've just actually got a message to say Bolos is coming to win from his guy. So they're right up for it. And of course, you've got Kevin Ajako, who could well be the next big star coming out of Belfast as well, and Michael Conlan. So when you've got 3,000 Irish coming, you've got to put on some Irish fighters. So I think we've done a good job for him.
In light of what happened in the fight with Josh Taylor and Jack Catterall, do you have any concerns about the judging or how this fight is going to be scored?
I actually think that when that happens, you're in a better position for people to, all the eyes are going to be on the scorecards. So, and there's no, people talk about corruption, all total bollocks. Sometimes it's incompetence. But there'll be more focus than ever on this judging panel. And not everyone will agree with the cards, by the way, because we just don't do it. But I think now's actually a time where you're more likely to see someone get it right. And I actually don't think this fight will go the distance.
Who wins this fight?
I think both guys can end this fight. I think Leigh Wood has the power to take Michael Conlan out, and Michael Conlan has the power. People talk about puncher versus boxer. Conlan can throw, he can punch. He has blistering combinations as well. I think this is going to end in a spectacular knockout.